The Bible says, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Exodus 14, verse 13. Can't begin to tell you how many times I've literally had to do just that. Those Latin kings are oftentimes like cheetahs. They get real low and move in quickly. I'm thankful because I've always said many times, if not for God's grace, on a few occasions, I might have been to pray. I remember one instance where I got caught out back in the alley throwing out some garbage in the dumpster. As soon as I closed the lid and turned around, a vehicle raced up the alley and stopped dead in front of me. The windows came down and there were 4 Latin kings. Nobody was smiling. It was all business. Their hairs were shaved, sunglasses were dark, and they were all sitting low, if you know what I mean. I had about a 10-second window prior to them actually reaching me. So of course, you know, the natural man's instinct was to take cover. I hadn't done anything wrong, but at the rate the vehicle was moving towards me, you would have thought I was the guy they were actually looking for. I figured the moment I started responding to these situations fearfully, then I was bringing myself totally to their level. At this point, I was definitely getting sick of all of this. I said to the Father, I believe you're right here with me. So that's it. End of subject. Yes, trusting God on many times makes you feel somewhat defenseless, but never threatened. I can only imagine sometimes what Jesus, Paul, or many of the disciples had to endure on many occasions. Amazingly, these men of God not only had to face their challenges without scriptures or purse, that's Luke 10:4, but they also had to fulfill their mission without weapons as well. These men had to learn to live totally by grace under fire. They had to stand. As I stood there looking eye to eye with these guys, or should I say eye to sunglasses, they never said a word. They just sort of glanced me over and realized I wasn't the guy they were looking for and sped off. There was no sigh of relief, but more so a sigh of disgust and frustration to keep having to be in these situations like this. I couldn't believe I had spent all that time in the military and now I have to deal with enemy threats on civilian soil. This was just too much. I had done my duty and served my country, so I should be able to enjoy a little R&R. But apparently, none of these guys believed in rest or relaxation. This was only one of the many times the Latin kings caught me off guard. There was another occasion where I was in front of my house doing some yard work. 2 of my neighbors had just come outside and were talking to me from up on the sidewalk. As I pulled weeds down along the curve, suddenly one of my neighbors shouted, "Mike, look out." Both of them took cover. By the time I looked up, a car with 4 Latin kings was turning the corner. I knew this wasn't good, because there had just been a shootout up in the trailer park the previous night, so I knew this was retaliation. At that moment, once again, the natural instinct was to run and take cover. However, because I was already in the street and out in the open, it was too late for that. So I had to immediately fall back once again on the one thing that I knew to be true, and that was Isaiah 10:14. "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not afraid, for I am your God. I will help you." Now some people might think this is being a bit religious, but for me, it's just remembering what our Father said and refusing to let go. As they drove slowly past me, I never looked up, nor did I ever look back. I simply kept pulling weeds. I could see the nervousness on my neighbor's face because they weren't sure what was about to happen. I remember the slight feeling of vulnerability as I knelt there with my back totally to them. As they slowly crept past, I almost felt like there was a bullseye on my back because of the position I was in. Nevertheless, I stayed true to my faith and conviction that no harm would come to me. But boy, could I feel them moving slowly behind me. I trusted my Father, so I knew He was with me in that very moment. Thankfully, they drove past and my neighbors came out of hiding. I remember one of them asking me, "Mike, what are we going to do?" The only thing I could think of as I continued pulling weeds was to continue doing what I'd always done, and that was pray. Yes, it's often hard to trust the unseen potential of prayer against the visible threat of danger. But I figure in today's world, with danger lurking around every corner, prayer is often the only thing that's sufficient. In order to combat the many dangers that we face in the world today, we would have to arm ourselves in all sorts of ways. Salvation, on the other hand, is about knowing you can trust an unseen grace in what appears to be a very real situation. Salvation is really about believing that God our Father is with us at all times, not just during dangerous times, but with us at all times. We don't have enough strength in the natural to fight every fight or to outrun every situation. At some point, the only thing you can do is stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Amazingly enough, when we stand still, God our Father actually moves.